why we got Rick Saratella on the line from NFL Draft Bible. Please check out his work. Again, there's the banner, NFLDraftBible.com, and the additional links down in the description section where you can track Rick and his work. All right, let's get to the offensive tackle position. Of course, left tackle, much has been made of that position for the past 3 decades in regards to providing that blindside block for the quarterback and protection there. Mekhi Becton has been the guy that I haven't seen a service that has not rated him number 1 as the guy. So obviously he's distinguished himself.
And I was thinking along the same lines as that, Mark. And then I talked to a team the other day that said, no, I got Tristan Wirfs as my top guy. And I said, well, that's interesting because, Dave Gettleman there at number 4, he loves those hog mollies. I said, well, Becton is the definition of a hog molly, right? 350 pounds. He can fly, athleticism, tremendous agility, and can bend. To me, that would fit Dave Gettleman's system perfectly. So I asked him, I said, well, what do you think the Giants are thinking if both Becton and Wirfs are available? And he said, well, I think they would go Wirfs. And so now, I'm intrigued. It seems like we run through these positional breakdowns. There's really no true consensus so far on the offensive side, at least. And Wirfs is a guy, we don't have to talk about how well coached he is. Iowa is producing really high quality offensive linemen. And then you take into consideration his combine performance. I don't think, they have these spark scores and these RAS scores that kind of take your combine times and pump out these athleticism scores. I don't think there's been an offensive lineman that's ever tested as well as a Tristan Wirfs.
We see all the big schools, all the big names in the top 6 or 7, something in that range. And then we get down to this Ben Bartch from St. John's. And again, you're having to evaluate him against much lesser competition, but you obviously like what he brings to the table.
Yeah, I thought he held his own very well in Mobile. I thought that was the ultimate test for him to step up in competition. How was he going to react? And he did quite well for himself. And, you find out about these small school guys, and I'm going, St. John's. I said, well, when did St. John's get a football program back here in New York? And no, St. John's, Minnesota. And, it's always fun to discover these guys. And shout out to Jim Nagy down there at the Senior Bowl for bringing him down there at Mobile and giving him that platform. And, he did very well. I thought there were some questions as to whether he can maintain that tackle position at the next level. I think teams were thinking about kicking him inside to guard, but I think he did so well there in Mobile that he has a chance to stay there and be a right tackle at the next level.
So again, what jumps out to me, Rick, of course, the name players in college that don't necessarily factor in a high grade level for the next level. Trey Adams, number 21 out of Washington, was an all Pac-12 performer, started right out of the gate as a freshman, elite tackle in college. Drew Richmond was a 5-star, played at Tennessee and USC as a transfer, the 36th rated guy. So those guys obviously aren't going to necessarily be factors. Who's out there that you really like that isn't necessarily, again, getting the pub elsewhere?
Well, I do want to comment on those guys because Richmond was a guy I had a chance to see, and I just think in the height department, he's just a little too squatty, probably would have to kick inside at guard. But, yeah, the pedigree is there. And then Trey Adams, I mean, I was probably more disappointed by Trey than any other player at the Combine, unfortunately, and that's because a number of reasons. Well, one, you didn't hear the interview process went too well behind the closed doors. Secondly, the interview process on the public platform when he was on the podium there, I mean, it was horrendous. And then, you take a look at his drills and his actual performance, and it's like, Trey, did you even bother to attempt any of these drills before you got to the did you put any time or preparation into the process here? And then, the other factor is the back issue, which is a scary thing for NFL teams because you really can't get a true X-ray. You can't get a true feel for a back injury. And I think anytime you have an offensive lineman, and he did come back and play at an extremely high level, it just was a notch below what he was playing. I mean, at one time, we thought Trey Adams was going to be a first-round pick. So, I think now, does he even get drafted? I don't know. But, he's a guy that's all over the map in terms of NFL draft boards. I will say the Jedrick Wills from Alabama, and even Andrew Thomas from Georgia, two guys we didn't discuss here. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think and you throw them into the mix with Becton and Wirfs. I think those 4 guys are off the board, all inside the top 12. I think you have another 3 or 4 picks that are quarterbacks. So out of those top 12 picks, I think 80% of them are going to be quarterback or offensive tackle.